Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, sir, for the brief introduction. I'm Dr. Rahul Khatri. I'm consulting obstetrician and gynecologist, and today we'll take a medical deep dive into a vaginal and menstrual health. So, most common gynecological complaint in your general practice you will be facing is vaginal discharge. So, it can be of benign variant to it can be from physiological to pathological. It can be a sign of underlying infection or malignancy. Physiological discharge can be odorless, clear white and non-pruritic, and it can be because of cyclic changes in the menstrual cycle. In ovulatory phase it is thin, copious and stretchy. In luteal phase it is thick and scanty. During pregnancy, due to hormonal changes, it usually increase. So the most common complaint during pregnancy is white discharge, and we call it a leukorrhea of pregnancy. Pathological discharge can be most commonly of infectious origin, and in infectious it is candidiasis is most common. You can see candidiasis, it is a thick curdy white discharge. It is shown in the first picture, while the discharge of bacterial vaginosis is a thin grayish with fishy odor. Discharge of trichomoniasis is frothy, yellowish green and foul smelling, while the discharge of gonorrhea is thick, white and purulent. Discharge of a non-infectious origin can be hormonal. It is due to atopic vaginitis, due to foreign bodies like tampon, IUCDs and pessaries. Allergic origin due to douching and using of allergic soaps, and neoplastic origin in cases of cervical cancer and vaginal adenosis. It is very rare, but when you see a case of cervical cancer, you can smell it from when patient enters your OPD. It is such foul smelling. So in our approach, we'll take proper history, including duration, onset and color consistency of the vaginal discharge, associated symptoms like pain, itching and dysuria. Recent contraceptive use is also important because sometimes progesterone use can also cause severe white discharge, and antibiotic use, and you need to perform a physical examination also. Special things to consider in cases of recurrent vaginal infections are, you have to evaluate for diabetes. Because of the diabetes, recurrent vaginal candidiasis is very common. And cases of immunosuppressions, these infections are very common frequently. Long-term antibiotic use can also cause an infection which is not responding to treatment. And sometimes partners treatment is also important. Probiotic therapy helps in restoring vaginal flora, which will help in restoring normal vaginal bacteria, which helps in maintaining acidic pH of vagina, which will prevent growing further bacteria. And the most commonly used fluconazole should be avoided in pregnancy. These are preventive strategies to prevent further infections. You have to avoid scented menstrual products, changing a tight and sweaty undergarments, avoid douching and frequent uses of soaps and in vaginal clearing. These are symptomatic kits available described by the NACO guidelines. So there are different kits, color coded kits available for vaginal discharge, cervical discharge and viral infections also. The yellow kit is commonly used for vaginal discharge. Now we'll see a menstrual irregularities in young women. So firstly we'll see what is normal. Normal cycle usually varies from 21 days to 35 days. Flow duration is 3 to 7 days around. And how much a flow should be, there is no cutoff value for that. It is a relative, if you anything above or below the normal average of that particular person is called abnormal. The master puppeteers behind these symptoms are dysregulated hormones. What causes these hormones in irregularities? What causes this hormonal irregularities is a immature HPO excess in cases of adolescence, where HPO excess is not fully mature. Sometimes PCOS can also causes hyperandrogenism and anovulation, which leads to irregular menses. Thyroid and prolactin also has effect on normal menstrual cycle. And hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is caused by stress, weight loss and excessive exercise. So these are the common hormonal irregulators. So now we'll see about dysmenorrhea. Dysmenorrhea is pain during periods. Primary dysmenorrhea is because of prostaglandin excess. Primary dysmenorrhea means period pain during without any cause. Secondary dysmenorrhea means it has some cause behind it. Usually it can be of adenomyosis and endometriosis. For all these dysmenorrheas, we can advise patient lifestyle modifications like exercise, diet and mindful living. We'll see about heavy and scanty bleeding. Menorrhagia, which means heavy menstrual bleeding. It can be because of palm coin. We describe it as a palm coin, in which palm means anatomical causes of menorrhagia. It contains polyps, adenomyosis, leiomyoma and sometimes malignancy and hyperplasia. And some chemical causes are coagulopathy, ovulatory dysfunction, endometrial, and sometimes iatrogenic causes are also there for menorrhagia. Oligomenorrhea is usually because of PCOS, that is polycystic ovary syndrome. Chronic anovulation and sometimes metabolic syndrome can also cause oligomenorrhea. Hypomenorrhea means less periods. That can be because of chronic occipital uses, Asherman syndrome and hormonal imbalances. If when to investigate when patient is having heavy menstrual bleeding. If it is after coitus, it means post-coital bleeding, which is usually because of cervical pathology. Another is intermenstrual spotting. Intermenstrual spotting is usually because of hormonal imbalance or sometimes endometrial pathology. And if the amenorrhea is persistent beyond 3 months, you have to rule out pregnancy, severe polycystic ovary syndrome and sometimes hyperprolactinemia. These are some red flag signs that no doctor should ignore. When menarche is less than 9 years old, it is called precocious puberty. And if the menarche is delayed more than 16 years, it's called delayed puberty or primary amenorrhea. If the cycles are more than 90 days apart, then it is called secondary amenorrhea. Severe anemia symptoms like fatigue, pallor and dyspnea, then you have to investigate. Associated systemic symptoms like weight loss, it can be because of some malignancy, or galactorrhea or hirsutism. You have to investigate. How to manage this irregular periods? First and foremost, you have to do a lifestyle modification. Do weight management, maintain sleep hygiene, and stress reduction is all that is required. For some mild cases like yoga, and you have to uh, motivate patient to do a workout, daily workout.
So 4 minutes left.
These are some pharmacological approaches where you can use oral contraceptive pills that will regulate the hormones. You can use progesterone therapy in cases of heavy menstrual bleeding. NSAIDs you can safely use in mild cases of dysmenorrhea, and tranexamic acid is usually required for heavy menstrual bleeding. Surgical consideration in cases, resistant cases only, hysteroscopy and laparoscopy can be done. So take home message is to listen to patient's menstrual history carefully, rule out red flag signs before labeling it a normal variation. Early intervention can prevent long-term reproductive and metabolic consequences. We are open for a question if you have any.